Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this class, I'll be teaching you how to make this beautiful flared top. It's actually a high load flared top with trumpet sleeve and back slit. As you can see, I'll be teaching you the techniques to making this beautiful top. This top can be used as a ready to wear. You can use it to wear your trousers, your skirt, and so on. So if this is what you want to learn, please stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So to begin this tutorial, I'll be using my basic upper bodice pattern for this flared dress. Okay, so we are going to cut it out at the bust point. This is my chest line and this is the bust point line. Okay, so I've imputed my basic front bodice pattern. So I will also impute my neckline for the back. I'm using 1 inch for the back and I'm using 3.5 inches for the neck width. So for the front, I also use 3.5 inches. You can also use 3 inches because it's a high neck. So I just choose to use 3.5. So I will go ahead and create my back neckline. I'm going to create the armhole too for the back, so I'll come in by 0.5 for the back armhole and I'll connect. So when I'm cutting now this pattern that I'm going to use to cut out this flared dress, I'll just go ahead and cut the back first. Then after cutting the back, we'll now cut the front. So this is the back neckline I'm cutting right away, and I'll go into the shoulder seam line. I'll now go ahead and cut, as you can see. So I'll cut to this point. Like I said, we are just using up to the bust point. Okay, so this is the center front and my center back. So for now, I just cut the back part of this. So I'm going to show you how to fold this flare, okay, to achieve that rest. I'll pick up this point where I have the yardage and the length. I'll just go in a little. Okay, so if you have watched our last video, you can see we got up to the salvage point, but here I don't want the length, the flare to be much. So since I don't want much flare, you can see the gap I'm giving from the edge. Okay, so you can go back and watch the video on a squared neckline. Okay, flare with squared neckline and puff sleeve. So from here to here, can you see I still have a little gap? So I just folded it halfway, okay, or a little above halfway. I believe this is understandable. So once I folded it, I'm going to bring in my pattern. So I will allow this folded part to face me. My fabric is actually wobbling a lot right here, so you can see it's facing me. So once it faces me, I'll bring my pattern and I want to cut the back part. So before I cut the back part, I'll keep pushing this. I'll keep pushing it till I get here. Will be at the center front. I'll pin it once I've gotten what I want at this point, and I still have space to add my seam allowances. I'll add my 1 inch and follow this line. So let me cut it now. So I've already started cutting, okay, and I want to show you how I cut it. So you can see I added 0.5 inch all around. So this fabric is actually wobbling. I'm trying to be very, very careful with it. So now the next thing is to take the measurement of the length of this dress, flared dress. So the length of this flared dress, I'm going beyond my hip line by 5 inches, okay, up to my lap line. So what I mean by my hip line, if your hip line, you can take the measurement to your lap. You know where your thigh or your lap is, okay? So you just take the measurement of your desired length. So, but it's going to be above the hip. So for me, I'll be using 36 inches for this dress. So from the length of this dress from this point, which is the shoulder line, from this point I'll place my tape and I'll move round. Okay, from here I'll move round till I go round. You know how our flay, we normally measure it 36 like that. That's how I'm going to cut it. So let me do that now. So once I'm done with the length of the dress, from here to here I'll add 1 inch. So I've already taken the measurement, and then I'll slant my scissors, can you see, to the hem this way. Can you see that? So this is what I have on the flay right now. So I'll be showing you the full view of what we have for the back before we move over to the front. So before we proceed, I just want to make little adjustments. You know, it was the back that we were cutting, the back neckline and back armhole, and the back has a slit at the center back. Okay, so I'm supposed to leave 1 inch for the slit and for the buttonhole. So what I'm going to do now, please don't get confused, I'm going to place this pattern back with seam allowance and cut out. Then once I cut it out, this is now going to serve as my front since it's on fold. Okay, so I will just place my fabric again on bias with seam allowance of the center back. We'll use this same pattern and pretend as if we are cutting the back. Then later I'll remove the neckline and place back on this and cut the front. I believe you understand my explanation. So let me cut the back now. All right, so to cut the back, I've folded on bias again. Can you see? I've folded it on bias, leaving some inches like we did for when we cut the other one. So now you can see the distance, and I still have my fabric on bias. So because we are going to have a sort of a slit or a zipper at this point, okay, so I'm going to get my fabric now, and I'm going to place it with so I'm going to place my fabric right now facing the center back this way. So what I mean is my already cut fabric, I'll get it now. I'm going to place it the center front. So this is the center front area, this is the center back, center front area. So I'll just, you know, put it this way because that is the only way I can have center front to the zipper allowance. I believe you understand what I'm trying to explain. So I'll just place it this way. Okay, so I just want to add 1 inch in front and then trace out exactly what I have on this because I've already cut out this. So I'll just make sure I position this by moving it a little upper till it sits into this dress, into this bias I've folded. You can see I make sure that this part is inside the bias which I folded. So I'm going to trace it out now, so we'll have the allowance. So I'll pin all around and cut. I'm done cutting, as you can see, and for the back I added 1 inch. Okay, so I'll just trim off this side that is not straight. So that's where we are going to sew the 1 inch slits, as you can see. So this is what my pattern front and back looks like right now. So they are now together having that flay effect. Okay, so that is it, and I'm going to take off what I have right now on my pattern. So this is the pattern we wrongly cut as the back. So I'll now take off the back because we've cut the back now. So I'm going to separate the back right now and bring my front back. So my front now, I'm going to cut the neckline the way it is right here. That is how I'm going to cut my front neckline. So I'll go ahead and cut. So make sure you have your pins and make sure your dress is falling in place, especially if you are using this silk fabric or any slippery fabric. So now I'm going to cut out what I have now for the front neckline. So for the front neckline, I'll simply add 0.5. So this is what I'm going to do. I'll start from here. I'll be adding my 0.5. Okay, so my shoulder seam line is there. Then I'll now trim off a little starting from here. Okay, I'm just gauging it to have it go in because the front armhole is deeper. So I'll just go ahead and trim off little and we are done. So next is to match what we have on the dress. Can you see? I'm going to bring the back and I'll sew front seam lines, the back seam lines. The center front will be at the center. I'll go over to my machine now. I'll stitch them together like this. So once I'm done, we are going to, so the first thing we are going to do is to create the facing, unless you want to use a bias. Okay, if you want to use a bias, fine and good. If you want to use a facing, you just create your. So I want us to finish up the sewing of the bodies before we go over to the sleeve. So I'll first go ahead and join my seam lines. Okay, so now I'm going to use my bias to tape it round. So let me quickly go and do that. If you want to create a facing, fine and good, but I'll be using bias for this. So you can see I'm done cutting, sewing the neckline. So once you are done with the shoulder seam line, the next thing we'll do is to sew what we have on the center back. So this is my center back where we just added 1-inch zipper. So I'll just go ahead and measure the length of I'm using 4 inches for my opening. Okay, so I'll have a little opening from here. I'll measure, okay, let me use 5 inches. Okay, so 5 inches is just okay. So I'll put my pin there. And then from that 5 inches, from the beginning again, I'm going to measure my waistline. That is my back waistline. My back waistline is 15. So that 15 inches, that is where I'm going to stop my sewing, because the rest of it will be open, as you can see on the thumbnail, and as you can also see on the. So that is it, and that is how to go about it. So my stitching now is going to start from this 5 inches at 1 inch, and I'll stop at this. Okay, so the rest will be open. So let me do that. All right, so I've stitched it, as you can see. That is the center back you are seeing right here, and you can see that opening. Okay, and this is where we are going to fix our zipper. So this opening, you can decide to go ahead after ironing the 1 inch open. You can go ahead and do what? And run a straight stitch. But for me, I don't like to do that. I'm going to weave and use my hemming gum and hold it at 1 inch. Okay, so after weaving this part, I'll use my hemming gum and iron it open so it lays nice and flat at the end of the day for me, and you won't see stitches at the outer part. That's how I like to work on my hemline. So I will go over to the where we have our opening for the button. So I'll also use my hemming gum, okay, and hold it this way. I'll use it and hold it open this way. So but before that, I'm going to sew like a button loop. So I'll use this bias to sew a button loop. This is my bias. I'll just go this way and I'll measure 2 inches. So from here to here, I measure 2 inches and cut. So I measure 2 inches and cut. So once I've cut it, the next thing I'll do is to fold this. Can you see how I did it? I folded it this way to form that button loop. Can you see? So I'll now go ahead and sew, fold in the 1 inch and top stitch it this way to form the button loop, leaving 0.5 inch to sew the remaining, to turn this with my bias. So of course you know how to turn your neckline with your bias. I'll go and finish everything, then I'll bring it back for you to see. All right, beautiful people, so now I will go ahead and do what I'm going to fold in this part, like I said, with my hemming gum. So you can see the center back area is open, and this is what I had on the slit. So with my hemming gum, I'm going to lay it close. My button loop, my bias, I've sewn. So I'm going to sew my button after giving it a good press. I've closed up the size of this flay dress as well, okay? So the next thing I'm going to do now is to jump into the sleeve. So for the trumpet sleeve, I love to use my pattern to cut out the trumpet sleeve, okay? So it makes the sleeve very easy to cut, especially when you are working with slippery fabrics. So this is the remaining of the 2 yards. Remember, I used 2 yards for front, 2 yards for back. That is making it 4 yards. So this remaining from the 2 yards we had, I'm going to also place it on bias. Can you see? The same bias we'll be using to cut. This remaining 2 yards, I'll also place it on bias. So I'll place it on bias to the length of where I want the, as big as I want the opening of this part to be. So this is the length of this dress. So I'm going to mark it, of this sleeve. I'm going to mark it and measure how wide I want my trumpet sleeve to be. My wrist measurement is 10 inches, so I can do 30 or 40 inches. Okay, you know what it means. My wrist times by 4 will give me 40 inches. So that means when I place these parts, okay, when I'm going to take that measurement, I can take from the folded parts. Okay, so here I have 16. Let's do 16. I think 20 will be too much. So this 16, I'm going to make a mark, or I'll basically cut it out. So but before I cut it out, I bring my pattern, okay? I bring my pattern. This is my long sleeve. So at that point I measured right now at 16. I'll place my sleeve in this manner. Can you see? I'm placing it on the folded part, the part that is folded, to meet with what I have before I cut. So, and what I have here, I think I'm happy with it. This is the full length of my sleeve, as you can see. So what I can do is just to shift it a little bit, just to add seam allowance. And if I shift it, I still have some inches to sew this sleeve. Of course, I will cut it like a trumpet. Okay, so let me quickly pin this, then we'll cut. Right now, I've pinned my sleeve. Can you see? That is the sleeve. So this sleeve does not have back and front for this trumpet sleeve. So that is why I have to place it this way. Okay, so we are cutting everything without front or back or whatever. So this is it. The length of this my sleeve from the sleeve head is 23 inches. But if you look at what we have on the thumbnail, we have a coverage up to the fingertip. So I'll just add 3 inches to it. I'll add 3 more inches, which is 26. So the whole length I'm going to take now is going to be at 26. So you can see where I have the 26, I still have my fabric. So you have to arrange this very appropriately. So the new length we are working with now, we are working with 26. I added 3 inches to cover my finger. So from here, I'll place my tape to 26. I'll add 1 inch seam allowance, which is 27, to hem the down part. From here of my sleeve, I'll keep taking 27. Okay. From here, I'll take 27. And from here, I'll take 27. So that forms our trumpet sleeve for us. So I later increase the wideness. Remember, I wanted to multiply by 4 before. So remember that the width remains 16 inches, which we decided to take. Unless you want to go to maybe 20 inches, then you can fold your bias in a way that it can contain it. So I'm going to add my seam allowance. So you can see it's very easy to use your pattern to cut out your trumpet sleeve. So you can see I've cut out, and I'll go here and cut the 26 inches which I measured. Okay, so I'll just basically trim off what I have here on the seam allowance. Okay, so you can also connect it 1 inch this way and trim, but I just want to leave it at this point. So I'll just make a notch to my sleeve. So what I did here is just one of my sleeve. So if you want to make this sleeve half back and front, you know, I turned it to the back to cut. So since I have my notch, I'll place my pattern, because the way it is now, everywhere is front and back. So I can place my pattern right here. So once I place my pattern at the center front, I'll go ahead and trim off. This is my front. You can see I have a little more excess. So I'll just go ahead. Normally the front is usually smaller. So I'll just go ahead and take off that pieces and create my notch. So when I'm attaching this sleeve, I'll know the front and the back. Okay, so I'll place this on another and cut. So I'm going to place this pattern now. I'm going to place it on top of the remaining of the other 2.5 yards for the back. Okay, so in other words, we used 4 yards of fabric for this, 4 yards by 60 inches. Okay, and we still have a little of it remaining. So I'll bring in my sleeve. I'll just place the sleeve I've already cut, the trumpet sleeve. You can see wrong side to wrong side facing each other. So I'll now cut. Okay, so I'm cutting it now right away. So now I'm done cutting out, and I have the 2 of them. So I'll put them together to create that center notch, very important. And I'll also create the front notch. I think I notched in one of them, so I'm trying to check which one was notched to identify. Okay, so you can see that is the front. So I'll place on the other one I've cut. So I'll just go over to my machine now. But you know how to sew your sleeve. Put them together, then I'll bring it back to insert into the dress to sew. I've sewn the side. So this is what the trumpet sleeve looks like. Can you see that? So it's actually wide at the hem, and you have the sleeve head. So I'll turn this sleeve to the front. The both of them, I'm turning them to the front, to the front. So the next is to turn the dress to the back, so we'll be able to sew the sleeve. So I'll just go ahead now. So before I turn this dress to the back, remember we have our notches for the part that should be for front and back. So this is the front dress. I'll find the notch. I'll find that notch I made. So this is it. So this one is going to be for this sleeve. Okay, why this will be for this? So I'll just go ahead and turn this, the armhole, insert my sleeve, match the seam line with the sleeve head, match this one to this, secure with my pin, and I will go to the machine and sew round right away. So I'll do that for both of them, and we are done with this class. We are done. I've sewn the sleeves right now. My trumpet sleeves, I have them sewn to the bodies. Okay, so this is it. So now the next thing we want to do is, I just want to do a little high low, okay, because the back length is longer than the front length. So I'll match it up together this way, and I'll just reduce some inches. I'll just reduce about 2 or 3 inches from what I have from the whole length. Okay, so to do that, I'll just pin this part very appropriately. Okay, so I'll just measure out 2 inches, 2 inches, or 3 inches. Okay, let me go by 3 inches, so the high-low effect will show very appropriately. So as I'm from the center front, you can see me, I'm cutting it the flay, taking it to the point of the back to form that high-low effect. Okay, so I will arrange it appropriately before I trim off the little excess. Okay, I'll just go ahead and stop here. Okay, so that is it, and we come to, all right people, so I'm done cutting the high-low effects, and here you can see the high-low effect. So if you look at the top, you can see we have the front shorter by that 3 inches which I cut. You can even make it 4 inches. It depends on how you actually want it to high-low. Okay, so I'm done with the buttons. I've inserted the buttons, I've ironed my neckline, and the back, I've also ironed the back. Remember I told you I'll be using my hemming gum, so this is how I did it. Can you see? So I'll have that part neatly finished. Okay, so I'll now go ahead and hem the down piece of this dress. So thank you very much for coming to this tutorial, and I believe this class was helpful to you. So if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this every day. Like this video, share to family and friends, drop your comment on the comment section and your suggestions as well. Thank you once again. See you in the next class. Bye.